Mount Lushan, the leisure paradise and sacred cultural mountain with a long history, one of the spiritual centers of Chinese civilization. In 2016, President Xi Jinping visited Jiangxi province and praised Mount Lushan as a leisure paradise with a long cultural history, which highly summarizes the essence of Lushan culture. Mount Lushan is located in the northern part of Jiangxi province of China, with the Yangtze River to the north and the Poyang Lake to the east. There are areas of fantastic natural beauty, including running waterfalls and brooks, shifting mists and fogs, and a stunning quaternary glaciation remains. Elegant Western-style villas are scattered among the mountains. Mount Lushan has been bestowed such titles as one of the first World Heritage Cultural Landscape of China, a UNESCO Global Geopark, National Park, a National 5A tourist attraction, and one of the top 10 famous mountains in China. A strong historical inheritance and the deep cultural roots make this a cultural sacred mountain. Long-standing poetry culture. Mount Lushan has a long cultural history. Many men of letters, Buddhist masters, hermits have stayed in here. More than 4,000 men of letters ascended Mount Lushan and produced more than 16,000 poems and verses and 1,000 stone inscriptions. You can enjoy the fantastic landscape and lofty sentiments described by President Mao Zedong when he ascended Mount Lushan. Perching as after flight, the mountain towers over the Yangtze. I have overlooked 400 twists to his green crest. Great and profound Confucianism. The White Deer Cave Academy, which is on the 7th foot of Mount Lushan, is the top of 4 famous Confucius academies of ancient China. Zhu Xi, a distinguished educator and thinker, promoted Neo-Confucianism in here. It represented 700 years Neo-Confucianism development trend in China. Innovative Buddhism culture. Signification of Buddhism started in Mount Lushan. Initiated in Lushan East Grove Temple, the Buddhism Pure Land sect emancipated Buddhists from over-elaborated Sanskrit teachings and started a unique Chinese Buddhism culture. Long history of tea and spring water. Tea Saint Lu Yu of Tang Dynasty compared famous springs at the time. He ranked Gu Liang Chuan spring #1 in China. Lushan Cloud and Fog Tea is a famous traditional green tea and one of the top 10 famous tea in China. It was selected for royal family in Song Dynasty. Good tea attracts guests. Mount Lushan, the leisure paradise and sacred cultural mountain with a long history, is looking forward to your visit.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen. We are very happy to have you all here. Welcome to the celebrations of the International Day of Disaster Risk Reduction on the 30th of October 2020. So the aim of this webinar is to share knowledge about the geopark management and also building a strong collaborations and partnerships between geoparks in Indonesia and China. This joint webinar today, it's a great collaboration between Lombok Rinjani UNESCO Global Geopark and Lushan UNESCO Global Geopark. Well, let's begin. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Eka, and today we are going to have three great keynote speakers. First, we will have Professor Arif Rahman from the Indonesian National Commission for UNESCO, and then we will have Mr. Yuan Zheng from the Coordinator of Chinese Geopark Network. And the last keynote speakers for this webinar is Professor Shahbaz Khan, Director UNESCO Regional Science Bureau for Asia and the Pacific. Well, this webinar, we will start with Professor Arif Rahman. Professor Arif Rahman.
Halo, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And very good morning, good afternoon, and everybody around the world. Especially, I would like to say hello to Mr. Huang. How are you, Mr. Huang? Yes, can you see me? Mr. Juan Cheng, yes. Mr. Xiong, yes, and Pak Ridwan Bada, insya Allah bisa mendengar saya. Ya, saya akan menyampaikan hal ini di dalam bahasa Indonesia dan bahasa Inggris. I'm going to present. Okay. I think I just start the disaster risk reduction in geopark in Indonesia. Jadi di Indonesia ini juga risiko, kita harus kurangi risiko dari apa yang terjadi kepada geopark and recovery action plan post pandemic, dan juga perbaikan kira-kira rencana sesudah post pandemic. Next slide, please. Yeah. Next slide. Ya, silakan. So, disaster risk reduction strategies and action at the international and national level for the next 15 years. It revolves around the following key pillar. There are 4 pillars. Now, number 1 is understanding disaster risk. Number 2, priority 2. Strengthening disaster risk governance to manage disaster risk, and priority 3, investing in disaster risk reduction for resilience, and priority 4, enhancing disaster preparedness for effective response and to build back better in recovery, rehabilitation, and reconstruction. Disaster is an event or series of events. Jadi disaster itu adalah kejadian-kejadian that threatens and disrupt the life, yang rusak kehidupan and livelihoods of the community, which are caused either by natural factors or non-natural factors or human factors, resulting in human casualties, environmental damage, property loss, and psychological impact. Dan yang paling penting ini secara psikologis ada pengaruhnya. It's law number 24, 2007, concerning disaster management, dan pemerintah, the government has made how to manage. The next slide. The hazards shocking mankind. The vast majority natural disaster result from the causes of earthquake, Some 50,000 earthquakes occur on average every year as the Earth tectonic plates shift and adjust, including some potentially devastating magnitude, releasing awesome amounts of energy. And then tsunami. We have earthquakes beneath the ocean floor, volcanic eruption, and also submarine landslide and even meteorite impacts can touch off the monstrous waves. Ya, jadi ada gelombang yang luar biasa di laut. And floods, rainfall or snow melt exceeds the capacity of the soil to absorb it or river to carry it away. Jadi kalau ada banjir, tanah tidak bisa menyerapnya. Tropical cyclone, also known as typhoons or hurricanes, depending on geographical location. And then climate change, jadi perubahan iklim, warming of the climate system is unequivocal, as is now evident from observations of increases in global average air and ocean temperatures, widespread melting of snow and ice, and rising global average sea level. Lalu sekarang banyak terjadi yang disebut landslides, yaitu longsor. Both meteorological or seismological event can trigger massive movements of rocks and soil on unstable slope. Jadi keadaannya sangat tidak stabil. Drought and desertification, kekeringan, changing climate patterns are also held responsible for the increasing prevalence of drought. And volcanoes, volcanic eruption are the one form of natural disaster that comes with a warning. Hot molten rock generates earthquakes and causes the ground to swell as it makes its way to the surface. And I think school around this area should be notified. Now, Indonesia natural condition. Geographically, Indonesia is located in the junction zone of the world's major plates, namely the Eurasian, Indo-Australian, and Pacific and Philippine plates. Indonesia has many active faults that result in frequent earthquakes. Tectonic activity has led to the formation of a series of volcanoes along the islands of Sumatra, Java, Bali, Nusa Tenggara islands north of Sulawesi, Maluku to Papua. Indonesia volcanoes as the Pacific Ring of Fire, the Circum-Pacific Belt. It makes Indonesia a country prone to natural disaster. Jadi memang daerah kita ini daerah yang sangat rentan dengan kejadian alam, including earthquake, gempa, tsunami, volcanic eruption, ya, gunung meletus, and landslides. In addition to threats caused by geological factor, Indonesia is also facing hydrometeorological threats triggered by global climate change. Kita tahu perubahan iklim ini juga mempengaruhi. Besides, there are risks from epidemic, zoonosis, diseases, as well as various biological threats. Now, we all have got to manage the disaster risk. We cannot avoid, but we can manage. How? Science, technology, and innovative for resilience. supaya kita mengembangkan ilmu pengetahuan. Hazard mapping, forecasting local and national level. The BNPB's Indonesian Disaster Portal by the institution is given early warning system, ya. Jadi pemberitahuan dini, building codes and building control policy, safer construction. Bangunan-bangunan itu harus lebih aman. Education and school safety, school building and learning facility, school disaster management and education for disaster risk reduction. Education and public awareness of local communities matter. It is clear that some disasters are caused or worsened by human action that exacerbate existing level of risk vulnerability, which is why it is a mistake to try to cope with hazard in isolation from broader social, economic, and environmental factors and without involving people at the local level. Jadi orang-orang di daerah itu harus dilibatkan, ya. Quite often the people who are affected by a disaster and who are sometimes themselves the cause of them experience on numerous projects have shown the positive effect of education in reducing disaster risk. Tentu pendidikan akan mengurangi bencana dampaknya kepada manusia. Children who know how to react in case of an earthquake, community leaders who are taught to issue timely storm warnings, and whole communities that have been taught how to defend themselves against hazard can dramatically reduce casualties. If they know they can reduce casualties of loss of livelihood when disaster strikes. Global Disaster Risk Reduction Campaign, harus ada kampanye, ya. Disaster Risk Reduction begins at school. Jadi sekolah itu adalah tempat untuk mengurangi pertama kali. To increase awareness of disaster reduction and ensure the subject is taught in school. Jadi sekolah dilibatkan. Indonesia has implemented disaster safe education unit, which its main principle are children center. Jadi pusatnya harus pada anak, where children are involved based on their abilities and interests. All actions are based on the children's specific needs. Apa sih yang diperlukan oleh anak-anak itu penting sekali. The activity begins with the risk assessment involving all school authorities, including children. In line with education sector policies and planning, and in line with local disaster management plan. It is very important also to have some effort, will support and enhance. Kita teruskan, next slide. The implementation of disaster safe education unit. Disaster safe education unit should work. The establishment of policies, ada peraturan-peraturan dan undang-undang and regulation at the national, provincial, and district and city level. Enhancement of collaboration and partnership between parties, government, NGOs, academic, universities, parties, private, and public. If it is important, also political parties should be involved. Strengthening the cooperation between local education offices and regional disaster management agencies. Development of data and information related to skill risk assessment, communication media campaign and education information. So radio, TV, as well as newspaper is important to show the research. Now, communication media campaign, next slide, and education information. I have some example, a poster or comic, aman dan nyaman di sekolahku, safe and I'm okay in my school. Tsunami and Suna and Suni, ini sebetulnya tsunami. And also pembelajaran siaga menghadapi bencana banjir. I am ready to face floods. Yeah. And the next picture, I want to show you brochure is important. And then handbook, guideline, and then also a guide for facilitator and flip chart. And also yuk belajar sekolah aman. Let's go to school and say documentation, animation, and film. And of course, the next one is we can use game tools, yeah, sekolah aman bencana. And also there is a book on Saifa, the flood. He can take care of the flood, Saifa. And then we have props. Yeah. The next one, that's right. Yeah, panggung boneka, sekolah aman. This is in Penjaringan, a place called Penjaringan School Al-Mutakin, Save Children. And we can see documentation box breaker 2017. And also by parties, by ladies from the Muslim organization dari NU, and documentation of KIPA 2014. The next one, now, Presidential Decree of the Republic of Indonesia 87 2020 on Disaster Risk Reduction Management Master Plan until 2044, Disaster Threats Recognition and Assessment. Jadi kita harus kenal bahwa pasti insya Allah kita tahu ada ancaman-ancaman. Understanding of community vulnerability, jadi kepekaan dan pengertian dari masyarakat. Analysis of possible disaster impact, disaster risk reduction action option, determination of readiness, kesiapan, mechanism, and disaster impact management, dan bagaimana caranya memanage, allocation of tasks, authority and resources which is available. And there is road to recovery. What is the road to recovery? It is key to engage every stakeholder. Jadi kita libatkan semuanya for the disaster risk reduction, creating health and safe community. Jadi masyarakat itu harus sehat, community resilient, ketangguhan masyarakat, the engagement government, policy maker, pemerintah, civil society, masyarakat, local community, orang-orang di daerah lokal. Stakeholder is needed in the effect of recovery post-disaster. We need to improve the quality of management of professional. Kita harus selalu memperbaiki kualitas dari manajemen dari profesional dan harus terbuka, transparent, and accountable, bisa dipercayai of disaster countermeasure. Restoration and arrangement of infrastructure, bagaimana memperbaiki, merestorasi jembatan, gedung-gedung, stasiun, rumah sakit, and better, more secure post-disaster community livelihood. engaging and supporting community. Next slide. It is the key. It is acceleration of post-disaster recovery in disaster-affected areas, community to build a better life requires foster synergy. Kita harus terus melakukan kebersamaan, sinergi, community development by establishing strong partnership, berpartner secara baik dan kuat, and participative and sustainable project. Ada proyek-proyek melibatkan dan juga bisa mempertahankan diri kita. Education sustainable development with a multidisciplinary concept of development from a socio-economic and environmental perspective. Community capacity building and skill training. Jadi harus ada pelatihan supaya terampil. Community-based development. Put the community as the central actors of the development. Jadi community-based development ini kita harus berdasarkan kepada masyarakat. The needs of archive documentation post-pandemic. Next slide. Jadi harus ada data-data yang didokumentasikan. An archive to document socio-cultural transformation that are currently taking place that will change the human condition. An archive to share best practices between geoparks on how dealing with the pandemic and the road to recovery. An archive will provide data, jadi bisa memberikan data, inisiatif apa saja yang dikerjakan, action plan apa saja yang dikerjakan, and long run policy to recovery. Harus ada kebijaksanaan untuk jangka panjang. The archive will not only document the changes but also to provide us with insight supaya ada pendalaman, jangan hanya menjadi arsip-arsip, ya. And I just would like to thank all of you. The last slide, this is a thank you slide. Hello, the last slide, yes. IDDR 2020, International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction. And you can find me in kniu.go.id, facebook.com, and in the Ministry of Education and Culture. Thank you very much, and God bless all of you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih banyak Bapak Profesor Arif Rahman atas pemaparannya yang luar biasa sekali ya Bapak Ibu untuk kita semua. Banyak poin-poin penting yang kita catat terkait dengan pengurangan risiko bencana. Jadi Profesor Arif Rahman menekankan pentingnya bagaimana kita membangun resilience terhadap disaster risk reduction. Kemudian penguatan.
Halo Mbak, Assalamualaikum.
Iya Pak Profesor.
Karena saya ada rapat berikutnya, saya ada waktu 10 menit untuk menjawab pertanyaan-pertanyaan kalau ada.
Oh boleh
saya
ya.
Siap sekarang, silakan.
Oke siap. Bapak Ibu, kami persilakan jika ada pertanyaan yang akan ditujukan langsung kepada Profesor Arif Rahman, kami persilakan. Di kolom chat banyak saran-saran yang penting, contoh misalnya dari Pak Ridwan di Badan Pengelola. Mari kita jadikan acara ini sebagai momentum awal tentang penyusunan kegiatan edukasi kebencanaan pada masyarakat, komunitas, sekolah di kawasan Geopark. Luar biasa ini saran dan masukannya, mungkin ini terinspirasi ya dari Profesor Arif Rahman. Kemudian dari Pak Budi di Geopark juga ini mengusulkan agar di kawasan Geopark perlu adanya program geosite tangguh bencana, mereplikasi desa tangguh bencana dari BNPB.
Assalamualaikum.
Ya.
Halo.
Halo, ya Profesor Arif.
Ya, jadi begini, karena saya harus meninggalkan pertemuan ini, ada rapat berikutnya. Saya mohon apa yang saya sampaikan itu, kalau ada terbetik gagasan, mulai saja gagasan itu di sekolah kita masing-masing. Terus berbicara dengan kepala sekolah, dengan dinas. Yang paling penting, jangan sekolah itu hanya mengurusi ulangan, ujian, raport saja. Tetapi umpamanya kalau di Lombok ya, saya tahu mereka sudah dekat sekali dengan alam. Di Bali, di Indonesia ini banyak yang sudah dekat dengan alam. Sekolah yang dekat dengan hutan, tetapi masih banyak sekolah-sekolah yang tidak terlalu dekat dengan alam. Seperti di Jakarta ini saya pikir orang harus dekat dengan kemajuan kota Jakarta. Bahwa kota Jakarta itu memang kita harus bisa, kalau umpamanya ada demonstrasi seperti kemarin Hari Buruh, itu adalah suatu hari yang baik dan kita tidak perlu ketakutan. Jadi kita dapat terus melaksanakan pekerjaan kita secara baik. Itu saja mungkin Ibu. Ada pertanyaan terakhir?
Oh iya, terima kasih banyak Pak Profesor Arif atas pencerahannya. Mungkin satu pertanyaan dari kami Pak, bagaimana sebenarnya implementasinya di tingkat lokal? Karena tadi Bapak menyampaikan tentang pentingnya disaster risk reduction, focusing on strategies and actions. Juga ada kolaborasi di level internasional dan nasional. Mungkin implementasi realnya untuk di tingkat pemerintah daerah mungkin bisa lebih ada detail penjelasannya sedikit, Profesor.
Ya, saya ambil contoh kemarin ketika ada banjir di Jakarta, itu ada daerah-daerah yang longsor. Pak Anies Baswedan sendiri sebagai gubernur begitu tidak mengira bahwa longsor itu betul-betul bisa merusak pinggiran-pinggiran, ada sekolah, ada perumahan, ada pasar, seperti itu. Dan ternyata memang kota Jakarta sebagai ujung dari muara dari semua sungai-sungai itu, teman-teman di daerah, di gunung, di tempat-tempat lain harus cepat memberitahukan kepada Jakarta bahwa dalam waktu 4-5 jam akan terjadi banjir di Jakarta. Jadi saya sendiri baru paham bahwa beberapa sekolah-sekolah yang kebetulan berdampingan dengan sungai, berada di atas tebing-tebing, itu harus mempunyai kesadaran bahwa bisa terjadi disaster, bisa terjadi bencana. Itu saja Mbak, dan insya Allah kegiatan apa yang dilakukan oleh IDDR 2020 Rinjani-Lombok UGGP ini sangat bermanfaat bagi kita semuanya. Saya mohon diri kalau tidak berkeberatan.
Terima kasih banyak Pak Profesor Arif Rahman. Mari kita memberikan tepuk tangan yang meriah ya secara online. Ya, terima kasih Bapak Ibu. Terima kasih banyak Profesor Arif Rahman. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Semoga tetap sehat ya Pak. Oke, thank you very much. Well, thank you very much for stay with us for the next sessions. Now we are going to listen to the presentation from Mr. Yuan Zheng, the coordinator of the Chinese Geopark Network. Mr. Yuan Zheng, please, the time is yours. Mr. Yuan Zheng, are you there? Okay, while waiting for Mr. Yuan Zheng, it's very important that we also recognize the signs of the nature, and then how we are going to prepare ourselves in terms of strategies and actions, especially in Indonesia. Pemerintah Indonesia sekarang sudah memiliki peraturan presiden nomor 87 tahun 2020. Master plan ini semoga bermanfaat untuk bagaimana kita bisa mengurangi risiko bencana di Indonesia. Mr. Yuan Zheng, are you there? Alright. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you are still staying with us for the next presentations. Yes, we still have one keynote speakers from Professor Shahbaz Khan, the director for the UNESCO Regional Science Bureau for Asia and the Pacific. Professor Shahbaz Khan, are you ready?
And I will put a special emphasis to the UNESCO Global Geoparks, because today's event you are organizing together the Rinjani-Lombok and Lushan. So this is really excellent work, and I will be showing you what work UNESCO is promoting in the context of disaster reduction. So in UNESCO we have what we call ecological and earth science is a very important area of UNESCO, where the disaster reduction is a very important part. I'm also joined today by my colleagues from UNESCO office in Jakarta, and I will be also referring to some of the excellent work they are doing. We have Indian Ocean Tsunami Information Center also, which also links with the disasters from tsunamis and disaster risk reduction unit, which looks into all disasters, and we are also working with the global geoparks. So let's first begin and understand what a designated site means. In UNESCO, we have World Heritage Sites, like, for example, the cultural landscapes of Bali, Subak system, not far away from you. That's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which is under a World Heritage Convention. Then we have the biosphere reserves, and the biosphere reserves are a very important concept in which we are looking into conservation as well as sustainable development. There are many biosphere reserves in Indonesia, and I'm sure you must be aware of many of them. Then also the concept of the UNESCO Global Geoparks. So global geoparks like Rinjani-Lombok and Lushan, and these are the key areas of UNESCO's work in culture, in natural heritage, also very importantly about environment, and the concept of global geoparks, a bottom-up approach with the areas of significant geological importance. So I will be going through some of the related concepts. So UNESCO designated sites encourage national governments as well as local communities to work together to ensure their conservation and sustainable use for the present and future generations. So intergenerational and intragenerational equity, very important. And the work certainly goes beyond these sites. So today's work between Rinjani-Lombok and Lushan is certainly an example where the work links us together on important issues like today in the context of disaster reduction. UNESCO sites 28% of the world natural heritage sites, and 70% of the biosphere reserve, and of course we have geoparks which are emerging. So these are related to the environmental areas, but of course there are the cultural and mixed heritage sites as well. So from the World Heritage Convention, the World Heritage Sites, we are promoting the conservation of natural and cultural heritage. So as I gave you the example of Bali, also Borobudur. In map we have, for example, the Gunung biosphere reserve in Sumatra, and of course here we have the geoparks. So there are differences between these designations, but there are common ideas. How can we promote sustainable development? But there are different aspects of every one of the designated sites. So first one, in World Heritage Sites are about conservation of natural and cultural heritage. And there must be some outstanding universal value. And outstanding universal value must be protected for present and future generations. In case of map is looking into the relationship between sustainable development and protection of nature, and it supports research, education, and sharing of information. And the global geoparks are about understanding Earth's global geodiversity, engaging with the local community. So geoscientists are a very important part, but also people working on tourism, people working on social aspects. So it needs really a cross-disciplinary approach as the UNESCO Global Geoparks. So let's focus on global geoparks, which will be of interest to colleagues who have joined us on Zoom and who are also watching us live today. If you have any questions, I will be very happy to answer them. So this is a view from Rinjani-Lombok Geopark in Indonesia, very beautiful of course. So global geoparks are single unified geographic areas where sites and landscapes of international geological significance are managed with the holistic concept. So the key here is landscapes of international geological significance. So the concept of protection, education, and sustainable development is very, very important. That's where disaster risk reduction education, and how do we bring the disaster risk reduction as part of sustainable development is very, very important. And following disasters, we have also been looking into the aspects of culture in such sites, including in the Lombok area. As I said before, it is about a bottom-up approach. The bottom-up approach really means that we start from the communities. We involve all the relevant local and regional stakeholders. So today I'm very pleased to see that we have that kind of partnership in Rinjani-Lombok and also the leadership from the political level, as well as the leadership from the community, from the landowners, indigenous people, very important, and the local organizations. So the process is about firm commitment of the local communities and multiple partnerships which are about long-term public and political support and a comprehensive strategy which can help us meet community goals while at the same time showcasing and protecting geological heritage. So that's really the key, that we must have strong partnership commitment to move forward, and that's where DRR cannot be done unless there is a very strong commitment from all stakeholders, right up to the national government level. But at the same time, we must be able to educate ourselves, and that's where the partnership with the Ministry of Education and Culture very, very important as well. Global geoparks must be protected through proper legislation. Legislation is about indigenous, local, regional, national legislation. How do we provide the legal basis for that? They must also make sure there are no restrictions on the economic activity within the geopark, but at the same time complying with indigenous, local, regional, and national legislation. So this is really the crux of it, that while there are many of the legal implications, they must be satisfied, but at the same time, the economic activity must continue. The designation is not forever. The designation is for 4 years, which is looking into geopark functioning and quality, and it is re-examined after 4 years, and there is a re-validation process. If you are interested, colleagues who are not part of the geopark nomination process and want to know more, or if you are and you want to revise your knowledge, the application process and criteria is available online. Statutes and operational guidelines for UNESCO Global Geoparks, you can access them through the World Wide Web. And if you need more help, our colleague in the UNESCO office, Jakarta, Ms. Adil Ulandil, who has joined you today, as well as Mr. Han, the full group, they will be happy to help you. Then there is a global governance process. It's not that somebody wants to become a global geopark and they can just declare themselves a global geopark. There is a very strict criteria. For that, there is the UNESCO Global Geopark Council, which is responsible for assessing revalidation, as well as looking into the nominations for the new global geoparks. And their recommendations on the applications they have received are forwarded to the UNESCO's Executive Board for its endorsement. So there is a key advising role for the Director General of UNESCO on the strategy, planning and implementation of global geoparks. There are 12 voting members, high-profile experts from around the world, who are chosen because of their experience, because of their scientific standing, professional qualifications. The council also includes the Director General of UNESCO, the President of the GGN, as well as the Secretary General of the IDDR, and the Director General of IUCN. But they do not have the right to vote. So there are 12 voting members. So you must understand the high level of scrutiny, and if a global geopark is approved, then it certainly means something very big. It should bring more tourists. It should help with better opportunities for sustainable development. But we must be aware of all the risks and threats, and that's where understanding the risks related to disasters and how can we have integrated strategies, that's all very important, and it must be done with the education of all stakeholders. So recent events, and I'm very pleased to also mention today, the fourth meeting of the UNESCO Global Geopark Council was held in Lombok. So congratulations, dear colleagues, you are so proactive, and also the virtual meeting, so exciting recently. So that was last year, this Global Geopark Council from 31st of August to 2nd of September. And there has been a 6th Asia Pacific Geopark Network meeting and symposium from the 3rd to 6th of September. So there has been a lot of activity and also the recent virtual tourism related activities as well. Let's just quickly focus on, if we promote UNESCO Global Geoparks, we are basically promoting what we call 2030 agenda, leaving no one behind, providing opportunities for everybody to have sustainable development. That's where the sustainable development goals, 17 of them, very, very important. So let me focus very quickly on some of them. Goal number 1 is there should be no poverty. If we have a bottom-up approach and we bring all communities, vulnerable communities together, who can understand the challenges and the opportunities, the shocks from the disasters, if there is better training for them, then certainly it will help reduce poverty in the area. So that's one. Goal number 4 on education. Many speakers have mentioned about education, and as you know, with COVID, we have serious challenges of education. So education has gone online. Also, the global geoparks themselves are the classrooms, and they are the incubators for sustainable development, say sustainable lifestyle, appreciation of cultural diversity and promotion of peace. Anyone coming to Lushan or to Rinjani-Lombok, they actually come to a real outdoor classroom, so they are promoting sustainable development goal number 4. And then the goal number 5, which is about gender equality, and I'm very pleased to see our moderator today, very capable female, and there is a very good representation of both men and women. So making sure that there is empowerment of women through the educational programs and through women's cooperatives. So Global Geopark certainly promote that. Goal number 8, which is about the promotion of sustainable local development, and that can be done through geotourism, job opportunities, and also making sure there is a local culture and the cultural products. Goal number 11 links with the sustainable cities, and of course Global Geoparks link with the cities to cultural and natural heritage. This is a foundation for the holistic approach for the global geoparks. Goal number 12 is about making sure that we have responsible consumption and production through awareness raising for sustainable development lifestyle. Goal number 13, critical one, the climate change related goal. And of course, the geoparks are the living history of the past climate. And how can we learn about climate change? By understanding our geological aspects. So very critical, but at the same time, how we go into future, how can we better adapt, how can we have better knowledge for mitigation. So geoparks play a very important role for the goal number 13 and also for the Paris Agreement. Goal number 17 is what you are doing today. Congratulations to Rinjani-Lombok and Lushan. You are promoting goal number 17 for international partnerships. And that's precisely what is the purpose of being part of this global geoparks network with UNESCO. And that's where we are promoting regional and global networks to work together, bring knowledge, bring ideas and best practices, and today in the context of DRR. Then let's just quickly focus on DRR, which is today's particular topic. Here you see Dongwon Karst Geopark, Vietnam. So the beauty is there, but also we have to understand the disaster-related ideas. So today, International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction, and the theme for 2020 is focusing on target E. Of course, Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction and 7 targets campaign for 7 years. Very critical, and that's why we have to also focus today on strengthening disaster risk governance to manage disasters. And governance is about making sure there is a participative approach which brings national, regional, global levels together, brings cooperation of all sectors, and there is coherence of the frameworks, the legal aspects, but also making sure the local roles are properly defined and there are proper incentives for all stakeholders to become part of disaster risk reduction and sustainable development at the same time. So within UNESCO, what do we do on DRR, which I have highlighted to you? For colleagues who know UNESCO, UNESCO is about education, about science, about culture, about communication and information. So UNESCO brings the interface between the natural sciences and the social sciences. It brings also the aspects of culture, aspects of communication, and the whole idea is how do we bring resilience? And resilience is if there is a disaster, then the community come back to its previous form. Can it be possible? So that's where we have these areas which we are working throughout the world, and especially in this region and Indonesia, where we have, of course, science, technology, and innovation for resilience, the early warning system like the tsunami early warning, but also the early warning linked to floods, to droughts, working with the built environments, also looking into education and school safety, also looking into disaster risk reduction for cultural sites, looking into eco-based disaster risk reduction, and post-disaster response, risk governance, and social resilience. In my office, we have a very important program which may be of interest to you, psychosocial support for schools, safe schools, and how can we bring that for the education within the DRR. Today, my colleague, Mr. Aditya Kodiyat, is also part of this Zoom webinar. And if you need any of our materials, including games, including the materials in Bahasa Indonesia, we will be very happy to share with you. So let's come back to disasters and UNESCO sites which I have introduced to you, the World Heritage, the map, biosphere reserves, and the global geoparks. So we have carefully looked into all those sites. There were 1,073 sites in 2018 when we did this analysis, and we found that 502 of those sites are exposed to natural disasters. And what are those natural disasters? The disasters from volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, tsunamis, mass movements, cyclone, flood, drought, desertification, extreme temperatures, snow and ice-related hazards, wildfires, and there are some uncharacterized. But the most frequent ones are landslides and earthquakes as geohazards, and wildfires and floods are the most in terms of hydrometeorological related disasters. There is a report also available, but also we are working now in our office in Jakarta on the sites in Asia Pacific with the help of Japan Fund Interest, and we are coming up with ideas how can we promote better resilience through these three pillars for disaster risk reduction and climate resilience for UNESCO sites and global geoparks are part of it. Pillar number one is about advocacy. So we support a global campaign for scaling up for disaster risk management in UNESCO sites. So today's event, we are very grateful to you for you to promote this event. So you are doing the advocacy part very, very well. Second one is about knowledge. Scientific evidence for nature-based solutions for disaster risk reduction. For example, if we have to reduce floods, we can, before we build engineering structures, we can use the nature-based options such as better vegetation, better forestation. And we also look into global good practices. For example, how do we have better governance at all levels and what kind of governance frameworks can work. Like in case of tsunami, we have a tsunami ready program which has its own best practices which we are very happy to share with you. And then the capacity building, which is also today's subject. How do we bring DRR solutions, provide good guidance to site managers for disaster risk management. So this particular project is through UNESCO's regular program as well as through Japan Fund Interest. Lastly, I welcome you like this webinar today. We have very active UNESCO office webinar series from Malaysia UNESCO Cooperation Program, Japan Funding Trust. We are doing 2 webinars every week for looking into sustainability insights. We have special lectures which are from the Indian Ocean Tsunami Information, and you are most welcome to be part of them. You can find us on Facebook, right, UNESCO Office Jakarta. We are of course on www. We are on Twitter. If you want to link with me to LinkedIn, I also give you my LinkedIn address. So that's my last slide. In a nutshell, with this special day for the Disaster Risk Reduction International Day, IDDR 2020, we are very, very delighted from our office in Jakarta to work with you as we bring Rinjani-Lombok and Lushan UNESCO Global Geoparks together. This is part of Sustainable Development Goal number 17. It helps the standardized framework for disaster risk reduction. It is precisely what we should be doing to promote South-South cooperation. And certainly the best practices, the awareness, and better disaster management strategies which can be shared together can be a wonderful way forward. So with that, I thank you all, and if you have any questions, we will be very happy to answer. Thank you very much. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih, Profesor Syahbaz. Your bahasa Indonesia is very good. I wonder if you know any other word in bahasa as well. That would be good to share with us. All right. Thank you very much for the great presentations. Please join me to give a big round of applause to Professor Syahbaz Khan. All right. So, Professor Syahbaz, we have one important question here from the participants. I would like to read one from Mr. Farid, the General Manager of Rinjani-Lombok UNESCO Global Geopark. He said, after receiving certificate of Global Geopark from UNESCO in 2018, Rinjani-Lombok Geopark faced many challenges. For example, big earthquake in July 2018, and then we tried to rise in 2019 and start again. However, because of the COVID-19 pandemic that hit the world, including Lombok, and now we are preparing for the UNESCO revalidation for next year. So the question is, how is the strategy of UNESCO for revalidation process during this pandemic of COVID-19? And then, is there any focused activities that we should achieve during this crisis in order to again pass the UNESCO revalidation process? All right. Thank you, Professor Khan. You can.
Ms. Eka, you want me to answer it?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
We know that because of COVID, UNESCO sites are also very valuable. And when we say sites are affected, local communities are affected. Those communities who are working on the cultural aspects, on tourism aspects, for their livelihood, they have been most, I would say, worse affected than what was the global economic crisis previously. So we have to very carefully see how can we bring all these aspects of the special work which they are doing. What can we promote? There is a lot of work about virtual reality, augmented reality. And I invite you to look into UNESCO, www.unesco.org for a lot of activities which are happening related to COVID, including education, including culture, including natural sciences. So we are there to help you. We can promote your global geoparks like what you are doing today. The geotourism which you promoted, we have highlighted it as a best practice to our member states, which is also something we should continue to support. There are virtual events which are also getting some funding in terms of people are willing to pay to go on the virtual tour. So there are a lot of those kind of activities which are already taking place. We need to start getting ready so that we can bounce back even in a better way. This situation will not last forever, but certainly there are lessons which are there. And site managers need to very carefully see the people who have been affected. And we must continue to promote the concept of the global geoparks and the special places they are. And we must highlight those communities who are very, very badly affected and how can we help them. So as I said, within my office we have started a program for understanding disasters. We invite both of our global geoparks, Rinjani as well as Lushan, to be part of this effort. We will be certainly looking into all these aspects. We are also working on sustainable tourism strategies with our Malaysia UNESCO cooperation program. So there are a lot of different areas which are available where there can be partnerships, and our heart is with all the affected communities. Whatever we can do, we will do. Also in Lombok, we have started some culture-related activities. And those activities, we are happy to provide you with details. Colleagues who want copy of my slides, we will provide you as a PDF copy, Ms. Ajay will send you. So if you want to know more, you want to link more with us, kindly please do so. We are there to work with you. Our job is to assist you.
Thank you very much, Professor. Yes, very detailed explanations. I understand that your office has a very significant role, especially overseeing the Asia and the Pacific related with the global science. I wonder if I have a question for you. I wonder if you can explain in details what are the challenges and opportunities in developing the UNESCO Global Geoparks in Asia and the Pacific? I mean, is there any similarities and differences between the Global Geopark in Asia and the Pacific? Thank you very much.
Of course, the theme itself is understanding the geological significance, the bottom-up approaches. Like if you look into what you're doing in Rinjani and what colleagues are doing in Langkawi Geopark, or what colleagues are doing in Lushan, or colleagues working in Vietnam. So very important aspect is the understanding of the natural sciences and understanding also bringing the social aspects. How can we bring those strategies which can work together for sustainable development, bringing communities together? When we say bottom-up approach, means bring all those stakeholders together. And at the same time, we are also looking into the legal aspects which can be, of course, there is a global framework under which for 4 years a site becomes the global geopark, but also then there is a national legislature, there is the provincial aspects, and then there are local government and aspects related to indigenous people. So there are many synergies, but as a natural scientist myself, I must highlight, every site is unique. Every site has certain aspects which are very, very special. That's why the nomination process carefully looks into all those aspects with all those eminent colleagues part of the global governance of the global geopark, carefully looking into them. So while there are differences, the bottom-up approach, the ideas related to sustainable development, the links with the sustainable development goals like from reducing poverty, all the way to climate change, all the way linked with the cities, international cooperation, so all of them work together. Very importantly, in this COVID situation, our message is, you are not alone. We can learn from each other. There are best practices, like in case of geotourism through virtual reality, what you are doing in Rinjani-Lombok, very interesting. This work which you are doing through the Zoom webinars, very important. Also, there are a lot of education materials which are available. So there are many of those common threads which are very special, but at the same time, I would say every geopark, every UNESCO Global Geopark offers something unique to all of us in the world, and we must continue to promote that uniqueness, but the thread of commonalities which link us at the global level for sharing best practices, sharing awareness, for building capacity, all of that can continue to work together. You are part of a much bigger family under the United Nations program. So you must continue to bring people together, bring more cooperation together, learn from each other, and be proud of your own area. And we are all proud of you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, let me check from the chat room. We have another question here from Edi Hidayat. He asked how we can make the geopark site as the center for disaster education. So actually the question is about how we can use the geopark site as the learning center for disaster. Professor Sabas.
So for today, International Day for Disaster Research, to make the global geoparks, UNESCO Global Geoparks, as the centers for learning about disaster risk reduction.
Yes.
The first aspect is we must create awareness. What are the disasters? We should do a mapping of the disasters which affect a given global geopark. I've given you the example from UNESCO sites, we are doing such kind of mapping. So after doing such kind of mapping, we should also understand what is the level of preparedness. Do we have an early warning system? Do we have local indigenous knowledge? How we link with the local government, provincial government, and with the national policy. So we must very carefully see that. Is there a disaster risk management strategy for the global geopark? If there is none, how do we prepare a strategy which is also in compliance with the other aspects, the legal aspects? Also, how it can become a truly participative strategy. From understanding, from the awareness, all the way to early warning systems, how do we actually bring different aspects of when a disaster happens, how people work together, how we build the resilience, how we have the education resources which are the local resources. Is there a demonstration area where we can put different disaster related activities like a disaster risk reduction museum, for example? And there are examples within UNESCO where we have done such kind of work. Can we prepare some special kind of videos for the site? Can we bring some of the generic aims which can become more specific to a global geopark? So that's a step-by-step approach until we say we are a disaster-ready global geopark. Like in UNESCO, I said before, we have the tsunami-ready program. And for tsunami ready program, to be tsunami ready, there are many aspects which we need to bring together. We need to have good science. We need to bring the latest knowledge from remote sensing, from the local data, for understanding the hydrometeorology, for understanding also the risks from different angles, and understanding the role of the different stakeholders, all the way to linking with the proper legislation, the aspects which can also link with the demonstration. So I think if we do all of them, then UNESCO Global Sites can become true demonstration for how we can do disaster risk reduction. And we also say that global geoparks are models for sustainable development. So we can localize SDGs, and we can localize the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction in UNESCO sites. So there is certainly a very big role for UNESCO Global Geoparks to play an important role to become open spaces for learning about disaster risk reduction, disaster risk management strategies, integrated management of disasters, and bring it into the schools at the same time, and people visiting should learn from these sites, and then they bring this knowledge to their own areas.
Thank you very much, Professor Sambas. Very insightful explanations about the future, how we can make the Geopark site as the learning center for disaster risk reductions. Thank you very much for your time and also the great sharing knowledge for us today. We hope that we can join you again in the next future for the better improvement of UNESCO Global Geopark in the Asia and Pacific. Thank you very much, Professor Sambas. Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You are still stay tuned with us. Okay. We would like to apologize for the presentation from Mr. Chen Yuan. But let me read the notes from him for all of us. Okay. From Mr. Cheng Yuan, the coordinator of the Chinese Geopark Network, Chinese Academy of Geological Science. It's my great honor to participate in this event. Many thanks for your invitations. Thanks for the organizers of both Indonesia Geopark, Rinjani-Lombok, and Chinese Lushan UNESCO Global Geoparks. On behalf of Chinese Geopark Network, I would like to congratulate this event. I will not forget the letter from the GGN President Professor Nicholas Zuros this February 10, which greatly inspired Chinese College. The Global Geopark Network is a great family. We should to express our solidarity and support to face difficulties together. The COVID-19 pandemic is still seriously now affecting our societies and especially our geopark activities. In spite of the pandemic, UNESCO Global Geoparks continue their operation and efforts to realize educational, touristic, and promotional activities in the frame of the geopark operation and support to local communities. At this time, it is really necessary for Geopark College to work hard on innovative activities with collaboration of local communities and industries. It's also a great opportunity to connect Geopark and communities closely. I once read the news about Geotourism Festival 2020 online, organized in July 2020 by Rinjani-Lombok UNESCO Global Geopark. The Geopark encouraged communities and local businesses continue to be active in this difficult time. This activity has already achieved great success and implications. During the past months, many Chinese geoparks, including the 41 UGGPs, return to work and hold training courses, lectures of popular science, and celebrations during the international days. I agree with you that series of continuous activities and events act as a sign of geopark resilience in pandemic situations. I wish you all success. Let this event actually promote the geopark territories of resilience. Let children smiling may melt all difficulties. Yuan Zheng, Coordinator, Chinese Geopark Network, Chinese Academy of Geological Science. Thank you very much, Mr. Chen Yuan, for such inspiring notes for all of us, stressing the importance of collaborations. All right, that's the end of our session today. Before we are closing, we are going to take a group photo all together. Yes, okay. While waiting for... yes. To all the participants, could you please turn on your video? Yes, at 2 p.m. We are going to have a virtual tour. Nanti jam 2 siang akan ada virtual tour dari Lushan dan Rinjani UNESCO Global Geopark. Kita akan tour secara virtual. Acara ini juga dapat disaksikan langsung di YouTube IDDR 2020. Ini luar biasa sekali. Mudah-mudahan dengan virtual tour ini kita bisa lebih mengapresiasi kondisi alam dan keindahan alam yang ada di UNESCO Global Geopark di Rinjani dan di Lushan. Alright, at 2 p.m. please stay with us. We are going to have the virtual tour promoting the beauty of the UNESCO Global Geopark in Rinjani-Lombok and also in Lushan, China. Alright, now we are ready for a group photo. Everyone, please turn on your video. Alright? Okay, can I see a big smile, please? Alright. Ready? 1, 2, big smile, 3. Alright. Can we have another one, please? Alright. Everyone is ready now? Yes. 1, 2, big smile, 3. Next slide, please. Yes, because we have so many participants, so we are going to have like a few times group photos. Alright. Can you please turn on your video for the second group, please? Ready? Big smile. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Alright, cool. Thank you very much everyone for participating in this joint webinar between Rinjani-Lombok UNESCO Global Geopark and Lushan UNESCO Global Geopark in China. Alright, yes, we are going to see again in the next event. I hope that you are very happy with the new knowledge that we have learned from our 3 great speakers, Professor Arif Rahman, and then Professor Cheng Yuan, and the last speakers, Professor Sabbaskan. Thank you very much for participation, and don't forget to join us again at 2 p.m. for the virtual tour and see the beauty of UNESCO Global Geopark Rinjani-Lombok and Lushan in China. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Mount Lushan, the leisure paradise and sacred cultural mountain with a long history, one of the spiritual centers of Chinese civilization. In 2016, President Xi Jinping visited Jiangxi province and praised Mount Lushan as a leisure paradise with a long cultural history. which highly summarizes the essence of Lushan culture. Mount Lushan is located in the northern part of Jiangxi province of China, with the Yangtze River to the north and the Poyan Lake to the east. There are areas of fantastic natural beauty, including running waterfalls and brooks, shifting mists and fogs, and stunning quaternary glaciation remains. Elegant Western-style villas are scattered among the mountains. Mount Lushan has been bestowed such titles as one of the first World Heritage Cultural Landscape of China, a UNESCO Global Geopark, a national park, a national 5A tourist attraction, and one of the top 10 famous mountains in China. A strong historical inheritance and the deep cultural roots make this a cultural sacred mountain. Long-standing poetry culture. Mount Lushan has a long cultural history. Many men of letters, Buddhist masters, hermits have stayed in here. More than 4,000 men of letters ascended Mount Lushan and produced more than 16,000 poems and verses and 1,000 stone inscriptions. You can enjoy the fantastic landscape and lofty sentiments described by President Mao Zedong when he ascended Mount Lushan. Perching as after flight, the mountain towers over the Yangtze. I have overlooked 400 trysts to his green crest. Great and profound Confucianism. The White Deer Cave Academy, which is on the southern foot of Mount Lushan, is the top of 4 famous Confucius academies of ancient China. Zhu Xi, a distinguished educator and thinker, promoted Neo-Confucianism in here. It represented 700 years Neo-Confucianism development trend in China. Innovative Buddhism culture. Signification of Buddhism started in Mount Lushan. Initiated in Lushan East Grove Temple, the Buddhism Pure Land sect emancipated Buddhists from over-elaborated Sanskrit teachings and started a unique Chinese Buddhism culture. Long history of tea and spring water. Tea Saint Lu Yu of Tang Dynasty compared famous springs at the time. He ranked Gu Liang Chuan Spring #1 in China. Lushan Cloud and Fog Tea is a famous traditional green tea and one of the top 10 famous tea in China. It was selected for royal family in Song Dynasty. Good tea attracts guests. Mount Lushan, the leisure paradise and sacred cultural mountain with a long history, is looking forward to your visit.